Hello, children. It's Mama, and this is Mama's Corner. And those of you who have been listening to some of my stories know about Mama's Corner and how special it is to me. It's in my treehouse, and it has my books. Oh, and who is that? Well, that is Mr. Mainly Moose. We call him Mr. Mainly Moose. And when he listens to the stories, he listens with his ears. He watches the story with his, where are your eyes? With his eyes. And he listens and sits nice crisscross applesauce so he's comfy. So you get comfy while Mr. Mainly gets comfy. There you go, Mr. Mainly. Sit right there and listen to the story. And the last story we read was The Three Little Pigs. Well, today, oh no, it's the true story of the Three Little Pigs. So if I read you a story and it wasn't the true story, oh no, I'm very sorry, because this one supposedly is the true story. It is by A. Wolf. That sounds a little suspicious, doesn't it? Let's see. You be listening and see if you recognize the story. Everyone knows the story of the Three Little Pigs, or at least they think they do. But I'll let you in on a little secret. Nobody knows the real story because nobody has ever heard my side of the story. Well, who are you? But like I was saying, the whole big bad wolf thing's all wrong. The real story is all about a sneeze and a cup of sugar. This is the real story. Okay, here we go. Way back in Once Upon a Time, I was making a birthday cake for my dear old granny. I had a terrible sneezing cold and I ran out of sugar. So of course, the minute I knocked on the, well, did I skip a page? I think I did. Oh, there we did. So I walked down the street to ask my neighbor for a cup of sugar. Now this neighbor was a pig, and he wasn't too bright either. He'd build his whole house out of straw. Can you believe it? I mean, who in his right mind would build a house out of straw? So of course, the minute I knocked on the door, it fell right in. I didn't want to walk into someone else's house, so I called, little pig, are you in? No answer. I was just about to go home without the cup of sugar from my dear old granny's birthday cake, and that's when my nose started to itch. I felt a sneeze coming on. Well, I huffed, and I snuffed. And I sneezed a great sneeze. And you know what? The whole darn straw house fell down, and right in the middle of a pile of straw was the first little pig. Oh, he was not happy. He had been home the whole time. It seemed like a shame to leave a perfectly good ham dinner lying there in the straw, so I had dinner. Think of it as like a big cheeseburger was lying there. I was feeling a little better, but it didn't have my cup of sugar that I needed, so I went to the next neighbor's house. The neighbor was the first little pig's brother. He was a little smarter, but not too much. He had built his house of sticks. I rang the doorbell. Nobody answered. I called, Mr. Pig, are you in? He yelled back, go away, Wolf, you can't come in. I'm shaving the hairs on my chinny chin chin. I had just grabbed the doorknob when I felt another sneeze coming on. I huffed, I snuffed, and I tried to cover my mouth, but sneezed a great sneeze. Achoo! And you're not going to believe it, but this guy's house fell in just like his brother's. And when the dust cleared, there was the second little pig, laying right there. And that's the truth. Now, you know that food will spoil if you just leave it out in the open. So I did what the best thing to do was. I had another dinner. Think of it as like a second helping. I was getting kind of full, but my cold was feeling a little better, and I didn't have that cup of sugar that I needed for my dear old granny's birthday cake. So I went to the next house. Well, this guy was the first and second little pig's brother. He must have been the brains of the family. He'd built his house out of bricks. I knocked on the brick house. I called, "Mr. Pig, Mr. Pig, are you in?" But do you know what that rude little porker answered? He said, "Get out of here and don't bother me, Mr. Wolf." Talk about impolite. He probably had a whole sack full of sugar, and he wouldn't give me one little cup for my dear old sweet granny's birthday cake. What a pig! I was just about to go home and maybe make a nice birthday card instead of a cake when I felt my cold coming on. I huffed, I snuffed, and again I sneezed. Then the third little pig yelled, "And your old granny can go sit on a pin." Now, I'm usually a pretty calm fellow, but when somebody talks about my granny like that, I go a little crazy. When the cops drove up, of course, I was trying to break down the little pig's door. And then the whole time I was huffing and puffing and wheezing, I was making a big scene. The rest, they say was history. Well, did I read that? Hold on, let me make sure. The rest they say is history. Says A.T. Wolf, big and bad. The news reporters found out about the two pigs that I had for dinner. Then they figured out a sick guy going to borrow a cup of sugar didn't sound very exciting. So they jazzed up the story with all that huffing and puffing and blowing your house down, and they'd made me into a big bad wolf. Now that's it. That's the real story. I think I was framed. Okay, so we know what framed means. He means he was set up. He thinks a little pig set him up just to get a story about the big bad wolf being bad. Now, what do you think? But maybe you can loan me a cup of sugar. And there he is in jail, still asking for sugar. So, when we think about the three little pigs and the true story of the three little pigs, we think about the ways that they are alike and the ways that they're different. So in each story, how are they alike? Let's think about the characters. Let's think about who was in the story. Are there three little pigs in both stories? Ah, good idea. Is there a big bad wolf in both stories? Kind of, yeah. Are they building houses in both stories? And then how are they different? We will put those under here. Well, if we think about this story is told by the three little pigs. And this story is told by a wolf. So maybe that's the difference. In this story, is the wolf big and bad? And in this story, what did that wolf want? He just wanted a cup of sugar for his granny. But as I'm thinking about it, put your thinking cap on too. Do you think that he was making a cake for his grandma? I don't know. Do you think that he was really needing to go visit all three of those pigs? I don't know. How many cups of sugar did he need? 3 cups? 1, 2, 3? I don't know. And about him going to jail and making a big deal of things? I don't know. And then whatever happened to the little pigs in this story? you know, they didn't really have a happy ending either. So that's the way they're alike and different. Those are our 2 words for today. They're really cool words because you can do a lot with alike and different. Okay, so I hope you enjoyed the 2 stories and the 2 different versions of the 3 Little Pigs. Stay tuned because I've got some cool stories about the gingerbread man coming up. And there's all kinds of cool gingerbread man stories. Okay, see you for today. Bye-bye.